I've read a lot of opening chapters, like a lot. And I can tell you that most of them make the exact same mistakes that have nothing to do with starting too slow. Think about the last book that absolutely wrecked you. The one you stayed up until 3 a.m. reading. The one that, when you finished it, you just sat there staring at the wall for a good minute because you weren't ready for it to be over. Now think about chapter 1 of that book. What do you remember about it? I'm willing to bet that it wasn't necessarily a breathtaking car chase or a battle scene or someone almost dying in the first 3 pages. I'm willing to bet that what you actually remember is a feeling, a sense of the world, maybe a character voice so distinct it felt like someone whispering right into your ear. And yet, if you go online and look up some variation of how to start your novel, 90% of the advice you'll find usually start with action, drop the reader into the middle of something, create immediate tension. Now that advice isn't wrong, but it's also not the whole picture. And when new fantasy and romantasy writers take that advice at face value, they often produce opening chapters that are technically exciting, but somehow still feel hollow. Today we're going to fix that by talking about what actually makes a great opening chapter beyond the action hook, and the mistakes that might be weakening yours before readers even get to the second chapter. If you're new here, my name is Brianna and I post videos every Sunday that help you become a better writer. I also make easy to use writing workbooks that help you build and outline your novel from start to finish, so check them out on my Etsy shop, Planner Palette Code, linked in the description below, and don't forget to like the video and subscribe to my channel. And just an extra note, this is my first time filming since giving birth, so I just wanted to say thank you so much for all of your kind comments and well wishes. I really appreciated them. Baby and I are doing well, and I can't believe it's already been a month. Time flies, guys. Okay, so we need to reframe the whole conversation around opening chapters because I think the word hook has become a little misunderstood. When most writers hear hook, they picture action, explosions, someone waking up in chains, a prophecy being announced, a battle kicking off. And while those things can be hooks, they're not automatically hooks just because they're loud. A hook isn't defined by its volume, it's defined by its function. And its function is to make readers ask a question they cannot walk away from without answering. Now that question doesn't have to be, will this character survive? It can be, who is this person and why do they think like that? It can be, what is this world and why does it feel so wrong? Or what does she mean by that? The hook is the question. The action is one of the many ways to generate it. So with that framing in mind, let's talk about what your first chapter actually needs to do and the mistakes that can stop it from doing those things. The first mistake is that you opened with action but forgot to give us someone to care about. This is the mistake I see most often in fantasy stories, and it is sneaky because it feels like you're doing it right. You've dropped the reader in media res, which means in the middle of the action, maybe a battle or a chase or a tense confrontation. Things are happening, stakes are theoretically high, and yet the reader doesn't care because they don't know who they're reading yet. The thing about action is that it only generates tension when we have a reason to want the character to succeed or fail, if that's what you're going for. Most readers are reading to connect with a character. If you sacrifice character development for world building or action in your opening pages, you're potentially missing what most people showed up for. So what does this look like in practice? A weak opening might say, the arrows came from the east just as Kyle crossed the bridge. He hit the ground, one grazed his shoulder, drawing blood. He rolled behind a pillar and drew his sword. This is technically exciting, but empty, feeling-wise. We know nothing about Kyle. We don't know what the bridge means to him, who's shooting at him, or whether we even want him to live. We're watching, but we're not invested. So a stronger example might say, the arrows came from the east just as Kyle crossed the same bridge he told his sister he'd never set foot on again. He hit the ground. One grazed his shoulder, drawing a sharp line of heat across his skin. He pressed his back against a pillar and tried to remember if surviving this had been part of the plan, or if he just stopped making plans somewhere along the way. So here we've got the same action, but now we have a character, a history that's implied rather than explained, an internal voice that gives us an idea of who Kyle is, and most importantly, we have a question. What happened with his sister? What plan? What does he mean by stopped making plans? That's how you make action mean something in the first chapter. Now, like in all of my videos, the example I've given here isn't perfect. It's just a basic story idea of what I mean using a basic story plot. And this applies to the rest of my examples throughout this video. The second mistake is that you gave us the world instead of the story. This one is a fantasy writer's greatest temptation and also their most common downfall. You've built this incredible world. You know the political history, the magic rules, the geography, the religion, the class system. You know which flowers grow in which region. And you know the slang that the street kids use in the capital. You're proud of this world, and rightfully so because you've worked so hard on it. And then you start writing the first chapter and try to explain it all, or at least as much of it as you can. The prologue history lecture. Nothing kills momentum faster than 10 pages of backstory before the main character even shows up. It's the as you know conversation where characters are explaining obvious facts to each other just so the reader overhears. Where you're spending thousands of words explaining magic mechanics before anyone even uses magic. These are all symptoms of the same disease. You're treating your opening chapter like an instruction manual instead of an invitation. Let's think about Hemingway's iceberg theory and imagine your world building as an iceberg. About 90% of it will never be seen because it's below the waterline. That doesn't mean the work is wasted. Instead, it keeps your story's world consistent and adds depth between the lines. But you can't put the whole iceberg on the page. Your reader doesn't need to understand your whole world before they can enter it. They just need to want to. And what makes them want to is not information, it's intrigue. It's the sense that there's more here than they're being shown. The detail that raises a question rather than answering one. So a weak example of this kind of info dumping might say, the Kingdom of the Vale had been divided into 5 provinces since the Dark War 300 years ago. Magic users, known as weavers, and recognized by the white markings across their wrists, were forbidden from entering the capital unless they bore a seal from the High Council. Kyle was a weaver, though he kept that secret carefully hidden. That reads like a wiki entry. I may have learned things, but I don't feel anything from it. A stronger example that puts intrigue first could say Kyle kept his gloves on even in the summer heat, especially in the summer heat, when everyone else was bare-armed and careless and he was sweating through the leather, trying to look like a person with nothing to hide. I now know Kyle has something he's hiding. I know it's related to his hands, I know he's uncomfortable, a little bit paranoid maybe. And with this knowledge, I now have questions, and I will keep reading to answer them. The context will fill in around me as the story moves forward, and I will absorb it naturally because I'm already invested. You want to introduce the details of your world as they're needed. Mystery and intrigue will keep your readers reading. You can mention a bit of your world in one scene and then leave your readers thinking about it, looking for the other puzzle piece. Treat your world building like breadcrumbs that they need to follow. The third mistake is that your character has no desire in the opening pages. This one is subtle, but it's absolutely crucial, and it's something I don't see talked about enough in the context of the first chapter. Your character needs to want something on page 1. Not their grand story goal, not yet. Just something. Something small and immediate and specific that we can see them reaching toward or struggling against right now in this scene. If your opening lacks stakes, readers will be slow to get on board. Show us what matters to your character along with what they currently stand to lose, and we become invested. Now, a character's external want is different from their internal need. Often what they actually need is not the achievement of their immediate want, but something much deeper. The beating heart of your story will be the tension between their wants and their needs, which will change and deepen over the course of the novel. But at the outset, we should feel them striving for something. A character who is merely existing in the first scene, either walking through a market, observing their world, thinking about things, they're a passive character. And passive characters feel like cameras, where we're watching through them, not with them. Now, the want doesn't have to be world-shaking. It can be as small as Kyle wants to get across the border before nightfall because the guards change shift at dusk and the new ones are harder to bribe. That's a want. That gives us a momentum and something to track. Or take Mara. Mara wants to make it through the palace dinner without anyone realizing she's replaced the real ambassador, who's currently unconscious in a supply closet. That's both a want and a ticking clock. What you're doing with that small immediate want is laying the groundwork for the larger desire that will drive the whole novel. But you're doing it through action and stakes rather than explanation. Opening with a scene goal can help you build a solid characteristic moment that shows exactly what your protagonist wants. This can then tie into the larger plot goal that will develop later to inform your entire story's through line. Emphasizing the scene goal creates an immediate sense of momentum where your protagonist starts out in motion and moving towards something. The fourth mistake is that your opening chapter has no distinct voice. And this might be the one that separates a good opening chapter from a great one. Voice is how your narrator makes sense of the world. It's the very specific lens through which your story is filtered, and it should be present and unmistakable from the very first page. The best thing about writing that has a strong voice is that it alone has the ability to pull a reader into the story. Think about the books that hooked you from the very first line because of how it sounded, not because of what was actually happening. The way the narrator phrased things, a dark sense of humor that made you chuckle, a particular kind of bitterness or longing or sharp wit that made you feel like you were hearing a real person's thoughts. That's voice. And a lot of fantasy writers, particularly newer ones, iron all the voice out of their opening chapters because they're so focused on delivering information correctly that they forget to sound like anyone in particular. So a weak example of this could say that Kira walked through the market. It was crowded, so she kept her hood up to avoid being recognized. She needed to find the healer before dark. This is technically functional, but completely forgettable. A stronger example with a more notable voice could say, the market smelled like rotting cabbage and bad decisions, which made it the perfect place for Kira to do business. She kept her hood up, partly for anonymity, mostly because the sun was doing something offensive and personal to the back of her neck. Now, your character's voice doesn't have to be witty. It can be melancholic, poetic, blunt, unreliable, or earnest to the point of being endearing. What it shouldn't be is blank. A blank voice is one of the fastest ways to lose a reader before the story's even started. From the start, your reader should perceive a unique and nuanced character behind the words because you're essentially setting the tone for the entire narrative to come. And the fifth and last mistake is that you're treating your opening chapter like a setup, not a story. And this, I think, makes the biggest difference. Your opening chapter is not the before that precedes the story. It is the story. Give it its own internal arc, a beginning, a middle, an end, and it should leave the reader in a different place than where they started. That's because the first chapter is the spark that creates the fire. Here, readers should be able to dive into your story's world, connect with the protagonist, and begin to anticipate and care about what happens next. So what does that look like in practice? Your first chapter should establish something, an emotional state, a desire, a situation, and then shift it, even slightly. Something should change between the first and the last page of your opening chapter. It doesn't have to be a major plot event, but at the very least, a shift in understanding, stakes, or the reader's emotional relationship with the character. And most importantly, the last page of your first chapter should make it impossible not to flip to chapter 2. The end of your first chapter should feel thrilling in some way, no matter the genre. It doesn't have to be dramatic, but it does have to sink its hooks into us by introducing a mystery, posing a question, or raising the tension or the stakes. Leave us feeling like our work here as readers isn't done. This is the cyclical structure in action. You open with a question, either stated or implied, and by the end of chapter 1, you've either partially answered that question, or you've made it so much more complicated that the reader has no choice but to keep going. It's kind of like a Russian nesting doll. Every question you open should contain a smaller, more specific question inside it. What is this world? Contains who is this person? Contains what do they want? Contains what happened to make them this way. Each answer peels back to reveal the next layer, and that's what keeps readers reading. Now, I know someone out there is watching this and thinking, but what about prologues? And that's a fair question, because fantasy especially is riddled with them. If you're going to include a prologue, don't treat it like a cheat code. It's not a way to smuggle in your world building or backstory before the real chapter 1 begins, because if you do that, it's not a prologue, it's your first chapter in disguise that happens to be worse than your actual first chapter. A prologue earns its place when it creates a specific question that your first chapter can't answer and that the rest of the novel slowly unravels. Think of it as a seed you plant before your garden grows. If you remove it and nothing is lost, you don't need it. So a weak prologue might look something like, you open with 3 pages of ancient history, a long dead king, a war that ended centuries ago, a prophecy that was written in the ashes. It all reads like a wiki article. And then none of these characters appear in the rest of the book, and it doesn't really impact the plot or the characters in a notable way. The reader is expected to file this information away and remember it later, but they won't because they have no emotional anchor to hang it on yet. That's not a prologue, that's basically a glossary. A stronger prologue might open on a single charged scene. A stranger handing off a dying child to the priest in the middle of the night, whispering something we can't quite hear before disappearing into the dark. We don't know who the child is, we don't know what was whispered. The scene ends, and then chapter 1 begins, 20 years later, with your protagonist. That prologue created a question with emotional weight. And now, every time we learn something new about the protagonist, we're quietly holding that image in the back of our minds, waiting for the pieces to click together. The difference here is that the weak prologue just delivers information, while the stronger one plants a wound that the reader needs the rest of the book to heal. Now, if you're debating on whether or not to include a prologue in your book, the safest advice I can give you is to write your first chapter first. Write it as if the prologue doesn't exist, and then ask yourself honestly whether the prologue adds something your first chapter can't, or whether it's just an info dump of your world history. So, your first chapter has one job: make them need chapter 2. Everything we've talked about today, giving us someone to root for, letting the world breathe, giving your character a want that creates momentum, writing in a personable voice, and making sure your opening chapter is a story in itself, all of it serves that one job. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, you might want to watch this one next. And tell me, what's the best opening line from a book you've read recently? Until the next chapter.